From asbestos snow in 1939 to drug-laced chowder in the 90s, film sets have always had one thing in common: danger that no one saw coming. Heat, toxins, and hospital visits. The Wizard of Oz may look magical, but filming it was anything but. The cast didn't just act uncomfortable. Many of them were in real pain. First up, the Tin Man. Buddy Ebsen was originally cast in the role, but his silver makeup, it was made from aluminum dust. Within days, he couldn't breathe. He collapsed in his dressing room and was rushed to the hospital with serious lung issues. MGM quietly replaced him with Jack Haley, who wore a paste version of the makeup instead. It still caused eye infections. Then, there was the Wicked Witch. Margaret Hamilton caught fire during her big exit scene in Munchkinland. The trapdoor mistimed, and the flames burned her face and hands. She was out for 6 weeks. Her stunt double also burned later in the shoot. The Cowardly Lion didn't have it easy either. Bert Lahr's costume was made from real lion skin, heavy and unventilated. Under hot studio lights, it reeked and soaked through with sweat. The suit weighed around 90 pounds and had to be dried every night. The set itself was a hazard. The snow in the poppy field scene, that was asbestos. Totally normal for the time, but extremely dangerous. Even the Munchkins faced problems. Many were given alcohol to keep them quiet between scenes, and their cramped accommodations caused tension. One actor reportedly fell off a hotel balcony during filming. The production was rushed, disorganized, and punishing. Filming went over budget. Reshoots happened constantly, and with studio lights running full blast, temperatures on set often passed 100 degrees. Nobody was talking about on-set safety in 1939. You showed up, put on the costume, and hoped for the best. If someone got burned, they got patched up and pushed back in front of the camera. Illness, injury, and a cursed set. Rosemary's Baby wasn't just unsettling on screen. The stuff that happened off-camera was worse. First, the director. Roman Polanski pushed the cast hard, but the real damage came after filming. Composer Krzysztof Kometa, who scored the movie, fell off a cliff and never recovered. Producer William Castle got sick shortly after the premiere. He collapsed, was rushed to the hospital, and almost died. He reportedly yelled, "Rosemary, for God's sake, drop the knife," while hallucinating in his hospital bed. Then came the death of lead actor John Cassavetes' friend, Sharon Tate, Polanski's wife. She was killed in 1969, just a year after the film's release, in a case that shocked Hollywood. That tragedy led many to believe the film carried some kind of curse. Even the filming location had its own dark history. The Dakota Building in New York, used for exterior shots, was already infamous. Years earlier, it had ties to occultist Aleister Crowley. Decades later, John Lennon was killed outside its entrance. But it wasn't all superstition. There were actual physical problems during production, too. Mia Farrow, who played Rosemary, was under extreme pressure. Polanski made her eat raw liver on camera, even though she was a strict vegetarian. She filed for divorce during filming. She later said she barely slept and was isolated from the rest of the cast. Farrow also had to walk into New York traffic during one scene. That wasn't staged. No permits, no extras, just her walking through real traffic while Polanski filmed guerrilla style, hoping no one would hit her. He told her, "Nobody will hit a pregnant woman." They rolled the cameras and hoped for the best. The film was a hit. Critics praised it, but the stories surrounding it stuck. Illnesses, injuries, death. Whether it was cursed or just chaotic, Rosemary's Baby made people nervous, for reasons that went way beyond the script. Cold rooms, injuries, and a haunted set. The Exorcist didn't just scare audiences, it wrecked the people who made it. To shoot the freezing bedroom scenes, director William Friedkin had the set cooled to below freezing, literally. He had a refrigeration system installed to get real cold air. Breath vapor was real. But it was so cold, cameras froze and actors were shaking between takes. Linda Blair, who played Reagan, wore a thin nightgown and later said she caught a lasting back injury from the conditions. The worst injury? A rigged harness yanked her backward during a possession scene. The strap came loose. She slammed into the bed and screamed in pain. That scream stayed in the final cut. The injury led to long-term back problems. Ellen Burstyn also got hurt. In one scene, Reagan throws her across the room. The wire jerked too hard, slamming Burstyn onto the floor. Her cry of pain? Also real, and also left in the film. Crew members reported eerie things, too. A fire burned down parts of the set, delaying filming for 6 weeks. Oddly, the only room untouched was Reagan's bedroom, the set used for the possession scenes. One actor died before filming ended. Another died shortly after the movie wrapped. A night watchman passed away during production. A special effects worker lost a thumb. Even Friedkin said the shoot felt cursed. To calm nerves, the studio brought in a priest to bless the set. He agreed, but also warned they were playing with forces they didn't understand. Great for publicity, not great for morale. Despite the chaos, or maybe because of it, the film became a global hit. Audiences fainted, theaters had barf bags, but behind the horror on screen was something much darker: exhaustion, accidents, and a cast pushed to the edge. Method acting gone too far. Marathon Man is known for its intense energy, but behind the scenes, that intensity became a problem, especially for Dustin Hoffman. Hoffman, famous for his method acting, took things to the extreme during filming. For one scene where his character had to appear sleep-deprived and panicked, Hoffman stayed awake for 3 straight days. No naps, no breaks, just raw nerves and adrenaline. When he showed up to set, he was pale, sweaty, and shaking. Director John Schlesinger was stunned, but the real reaction came from co-star Laurence Olivier. Olivier took one look at Hoffman and said, "Why not try acting, dear boy?" It wasn't just a jab, it was a warning. Hoffman was making himself sick. During the shoot, Hoffman also went on extreme runs before takes to appear out of breath. He dropped weight, skipped meals, and kept pushing his limits. Crew members later said he looked exhausted even when cameras weren't rolling. His health didn't completely collapse, but people close to the production said he was constantly wiped out. Some scenes had to be delayed because he couldn't maintain energy or focus. One assistant reportedly kept food and juice on hand just to keep him standing. And it wasn't just Hoffman. The film's intensity affected the whole crew. Scenes were dark, gritty, and violent. The dental torture scene? Totally fake, but hard to watch, even for the actors. Hoffman admitted that filming it left him emotionally drained. He said the fear in his eyes wasn't all acting. The movie turned out great. Critics loved it. Hoffman was praised. But behind the awards and box office success was a body pushed to its limits. Olivier's advice may have sounded like a joke, but he wasn't wrong. There's a fine line between dedication and self-destruction. On Marathon Man, Hoffman walked it every day. It was a performance built on real sweat and pain, and it raised a quiet question that still lingers in Hollywood. How far should an actor go for the perfect shot? Heart attacks, breakdown, and tropical illness. Apocalypse Now wasn't just a movie, it was a survival test. Filming it nearly broke the entire cast and crew. Production began in the Philippines. It was hot, wet, and chaotic. The crew battled typhoons, mudslides, and unreliable equipment. Filming stopped for weeks when a storm destroyed the sets. But nature wasn't the only problem. Martin Sheen, who played Captain Willard, was only 36, but the stress got to him fast. He was drinking heavily, smoking non-stop, and barely sleeping. In March 1977, he suffered a heart attack on location. He collapsed while alone and crawled to the side of the road for help. Francis Ford Coppola kept it quiet. Most of the public didn't even know until years later. Sheen's brother doubled for him during recovery. He returned to finish the film, but it nearly killed him. Coppola wasn't in great shape either. He had seizures during filming and later said, "We had access to too much money, too much equipment, and little by little we went insane." Crew members caught malaria and parasites. Some were hospitalized. Filming stretched from 6 weeks to over a year. They were living in jungle conditions, with bugs, heat, and rain making every shoot miserable. Marlon Brando showed up overweight, unprepared, and refused to memorize lines. Dennis Hopper was reportedly high the entire time. Coppola had to rewrite scenes constantly, often late at night while people were sick or passed out. Even the animals weren't safe. A real water buffalo was slaughtered on camera in a ritual sacrifice, which drew criticism but stayed in the final cut. The movie won awards and became a classic, but it left scars. Sheen later said he almost died and had a full mental breakdown. Coppola mortgaged his home to finish the film. He described the experience as hell. Apocalypse. Now looked like war, and for many who made it, it felt like it too. The film showed the madness of battle. What audiences didn't see? The real war behind the camera. Sudden deaths and the poltergeist curse. Poltergeist had ghosts on screen, but it's the real-life deaths that gave people chills. The movie followed a family haunted by spirits in their suburban home. It was a hit, but after its release, strange things kept happening, off-set and for years. Just months after Poltergeist premiered, actress Dominique Dunne, who played the older sister, Dana, was killed outside her home. She was 22. Her ex-boyfriend attacked her in the driveway. She never regained consciousness. Then came Heather O'Rourke. She played Carol Ann, the youngest daughter and face of the franchise. Between filming Poltergeist 2 and Poltergeist 3, she became ill with flu-like symptoms. Doctors misdiagnosed her. In 1988, she died from septic shock caused by a bowel obstruction. She was just 12. 2 deaths, both young, both shocking, and both tied to the same movie series. Other cast members also faced tragedy. Julian Beck, who played the evil preacher in Poltergeist 2, died of stomach cancer during production. Will Sampson, also in the sequel, died shortly after surgery not long after filming wrapped. People began calling it the Poltergeist curse. Tabloids ran with it. Fans pointed to the use of real human skeletons in the first film's pool scene as the trigger. Jobeth Williams, who played the mom, later said no one told her they were real until afterward. Director Tobe Hooper and producer Steven Spielberg never addressed the rumors publicly. But behind the scenes, many crew members felt uneasy. The set reportedly had a weird energy. Some refused to return for sequels. Of course, Hollywood is full of dark stories, but this wasn't just one case. Poltergeist had a string of deaths and misfortunes that kept piling up, not during filming, but after. Some say it's coincidence, others still won't watch the movie. Underwater filming and breakdown. James Cameron wanted realism, so for The Abyss, he didn't fake water scenes. He dropped the cast into a giant underwater tank. It looked amazing. It also nearly broke everyone. The movie was shot in an abandoned nuclear reactor in South Carolina, converted into a 7.5 million-gallon tank. Most scenes were filmed 30 feet underwater. Actors wore heavy suits and real dive gear. Communication was spotty. It was cold and dangerous. Ed Harris, the lead, spent hours submerged daily. In one scene, he had to hold his breath while sinking in a flooded room. He later said he almost drowned. When he got to the surface, no one was there to help him out. He punched a crew member and stormed off. In another scene, Harris's helmet filled with water. He panicked but kept going, then started crying while driving home. He called it the most physically demanding shoot of his life. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio didn't fare better. During a CPR scene, the camera jammed and Cameron wanted a redo. She shouted, "We are not animals," and walked off set. Crew members said she never fully came back after that day. The water wasn't clean either. Harris said the chlorine irritated their skin and eyes. People got sinus infections and rashes. Some had ear damage from pressure changes. Cameron didn't help. He was known for keeping cameras rolling too long and pushing actors past their limits. The crew gave him the nickname the Iron Jim. He admitted later he went too far. Food poisoning, freezing water, and PCP. James Cameron doesn't do easy, and with Titanic he aimed for total immersion, literally. Filming was brutal. The cold water scenes weren't just special effects. Much of the cast spent hours in freezing tanks. Hypothermia was a real risk. Kate Winslet got sick, bruised her arms, and nearly drowned when her heavy coat got caught during a stunt. She later said, "There were times I was genuinely frightened." But things got weird, fast. One night in Nova Scotia, 60 cast and crew members got violently sick after eating seafood chowder from the catering tent. People were vomiting, hallucinating, and couldn't stand up straight. At first, they thought it was bad shellfish. It wasn't. Someone had spiked the chowder with PCP, a powerful hallucinogen. Bill Paxton said people were laughing, crying, throwing up. Others were rushed to the hospital. Cameron was stabbed in the face with a pen by a crew member who'd completely lost control. He realized something was wrong when he couldn't stop laughing while trying to direct. To this day, no one knows who did it. Police investigated, but no one was charged. Some suspected a disgruntled crew member, angry over long hours and safety complaints. And yes, safety was a problem. People slipped on wet decks, got tangled in cables, and suffered exhaustion. The shoot went way over budget, and tempers flared. At one point, Cameron spent so much time underwater filming that he developed an ear infection and partial hearing loss. Kate Winslet admitted she wasn't a fan of Cameron's style. "He has a temper," she said, "and you can lose your dignity in front of hundreds." Despite all of this, Titanic went on to become one of the biggest movies ever made, but the behind-the-scenes experience? A different story. Ghost stories and unexplained events. The Conjuring was based on real-life hauntings, but once filming started, the strange activity wasn't just on screen. Director James Wan and the cast filmed in North Carolina using practical effects and moody sets to create a 1970s-style ghost story. But as production moved forward, things got unsettling. Vera Farmiga, who played Lorraine Warren, said she avoided reading the script at night. One morning, she opened her laptop and saw claw-like marks slashed across the screen, 3 long scratches. No one touched it. There was no damage to the outside. Just that single image burned in. She also reported waking up at 3:07 a.m. regularly, the same time strange events occur in the movie. Lily Taylor, who played the haunted mother, said her real-life children experienced odd behavior during filming. One of her daughters suddenly refused to enter her bedroom, claiming something was there. Things got weirder on set. The crew used a wooden set built to resemble the Perron family farmhouse. While shooting a major scene, the on-set phone rang. No one had connected a line. When answered, no one was there. Shortly after, strong gusts of wind hit the set, though the surrounding trees stayed still. Members of the real Perron family visited the set. During their visit, a sudden strong wind whipped through, but stopped just as quickly. Producer Tony DeRosa Grund later said it gave him chills that never left. Midway through filming, the cast's hotel experienced a sudden fire. No one was injured, but some actors refused to stay there afterward. Several crew members began requesting transfers to other departments. James Wan stayed quiet about the rumors. But many involved with the production admitted the shoot felt heavy, different from other horror films. Even Patrick Wilson, who played Ed Warren, said they didn't joke around much on set. "Something about it just felt off," he said in an interview. Was it marketing, coincidence, or something more? Burnout, breakdown, and live TV chaos. Saturday Night Live is known for comedy, but behind the jokes, the pressure is no joke at all. The show runs on a brutal schedule. Each week is a brand new production, built from scratch. Writers stay up all night, rehearsals stretch to the last minute, and cast members often perform live on 2 hours of sleep and a stomach full of nerves. This grind has led to real health issues. In the early years, drug use was rampant. Former cast member Lorraine Newman said the original cast barely slept and used cocaine just to keep going. John Belushi's addiction was well known, and he often performed while heavily under the influence. His death in 1982 became a cautionary tale. More recently, burnout and mental health struggles have come into focus. In interviews, Bill Hader admitted he suffered panic attacks before live shows. "It would hit during the monologue," he said. "I'd think, I can't do this." He later stepped away from the show to protect his health. Pete Davidson also opened up about depression and mental health challenges while performing on SNL. He said the pressure, combined with public scrutiny, often pushed him past his breaking point. The show doesn't stop for anyone. Cast members have performed while sick, injured, or emotionally wrecked. There's no pause button. If you're in the sketch, you're live, ready or not. The live format, weekly turnover, and audience expectations create a non-stop loop of stress. Mistakes happen, fights break out, tears are shed off camera, but the show keeps going. The demands of Hollywood could cripple any average person, but those who succeed are the ones who are not just talented but push beyond the boundaries to make it and are celebrated for it. But the truth remains that some of these Hollywood stars relied on several methods to help them cope. The most popular of all was found at the bottom of the bottle. Sadly, the poison of excessive alcohol caught up with most of these actors. William Claude Dukenfield. He rose to fame as a silent juggler, known for his raspy drawl and sophisticated vocabulary. Despite his on-screen fondness for alcohol, which he portrayed convincingly, the actor surprisingly abstained from drinking until he felt the isolation of constant travel. Eventually, loneliness caught up with him, leading him to keep alcohol in his dressing room and eventually develop a regular drinking habit after retiring from juggling. If there was one role that cemented his reputation as an alcoholic, it was his portrayal of Professor Henry R. Quayle in the 1933 pre-code comedy International House. In the film, he played an aviator with an insatiable thirst for beer, a trait he began to adopt in real life. Like many actors of his time, he sometimes filmed scenes while intoxicated, yet this often added an intriguing edge to his performances that audiences loved. Sadly, his career declined slowly, and he spent the last 22 months of his life in a California sanitarium, passing away at the age of 66 on Christmas. Moving on to another tragic figure, William Holden, a multi-award-winning actor who faced perhaps the most tragic ending among the actors mentioned here. Holden achieved acclaim with prestigious awards such as the Academy Award for Best Actor and the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited Anthology Series or Movie. His career flourished with several successful films and roles that made him a beloved figure in Hollywood. However, as the 1960s arrived, he found himself competing with a new generation of actors while his own popularity began to wane. This decline coincided with his increasing reliance on alcohol, a struggle that became an open secret in Hollywood circles for years. Despite his reputation, Holden remained dedicated to his craft, continuing to accept challenging roles until the end. His tragic death occurred on November 12, 1981, when he suffered a fatal fall at home, hitting his head and bleeding to death. The Los Angeles County coroner's autopsy later confirmed he was intoxicated at the time of the accident, underscoring the poignant end to his illustrious career. These stories highlight the complex lives and struggles faced by some of Hollywood's most talented and celebrated actors. Ramon Navaro. Born José Ramón Gil Samaniego on February 6, 1899 in Durango, Mexico, Ramon Navaro rose to fame as one of the leading actors during Hollywood's silent film era. His career spanned from the 1910s through the early talkies of the 1930s, establishing him as a charismatic and talented performer. Navaro's early success was marked by his roles in films such as Ben-Hur, 1925, where he portrayed the titular character with vigor and emotional depth, solidifying his status as a matinee idol. Despite his on-screen triumphs, Navaro battled personal demons throughout his life, notably alcoholism. The pressures of fame and the demanding Hollywood lifestyle exacerbated his struggles with addiction, leading to periods of erratic behavior and personal turmoil. Behind the scenes, Navaro's challenges with alcohol impacted his relationships and career trajectory, often overshadowing his professional accomplishments. Throughout the 1930s, as Hollywood transitioned to sound films, Navaro faced increasing competition and changing audience tastes. His roles became less frequent, and the industry's shift posed additional challenges for his career. Despite attempts to revive his star status, including ventures into character roles in theater, Navaro's personal battles with alcohol continued to hinder his professional endeavors. Beyond his career struggles, Navaro's personal life also bore the scars of his addiction. He grappled with strained relationships and financial instability, further complicating his journey. Despite efforts to seek treatment and intermittent periods of sobriety, Navaro's addiction remained a persistent force in his life until his tragic death. In 1968, at the age of 69, Ramon Navaro's life came to a tragic end when he was brutally murdered in his home. The circumstances surrounding his death highlighted the dark undercurrents of his final years, underscoring the profound impact of his lifelong battle with alcoholism on both his personal and professional life. Marian Davies. Born Marian Cecilia Duras on January 3, 1897 in Brooklyn, New York, Marian Davies emerged as a prominent actress during Hollywood's golden age. Known for her comedic talent and versatility, Davies captivated audiences with her performances in silent films and later in talkies. Her career flourished under the patronage of media mogul William Randolph Hearst, with whom she had a complex and influential relationship. Despite her professional success and charm on screen, Davies faced personal challenges, most notably her struggle with alcoholism. The pressures of fame, coupled with the tumultuous dynamics of her relationship with Hearst, contributed to her reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Throughout her Hollywood career, Davies battled periods of addiction, which at times overshadowed her achievements in film. Davies's association with Hearst, who exerted significant influence over her career and public image, added layers of complexity to her personal life. Despite her efforts to maintain a public facade of glamour and success, behind the scenes, Davies grappled with the private burden of addiction. Her struggles with alcoholism strained relationships and occasionally disrupted her work, reflecting the toll of her dependency. In later years, Davies' battle with alcoholism became a part of her legacy, intertwined with her contributions to early Hollywood cinema. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities faced by women in the entertainment industry during the early 20th century, navigating between personal struggles and professional aspirations amidst the glare of public scrutiny. Marian Davies passed away on September 22, 1961, leaving behind a legacy marked by her talent, resilience, and the enduring impact of her performances. Her journey through fame, intertwined with the challenges of addiction, remains a compelling chapter in the history of vintage Hollywood. Francho Tone. Born Stanislaus Pascal Francho Tone on February 27, 1905, in Niagara Falls, New York, Francho Tone established himself as a versatile actor known for his roles in classic Hollywood films. With a career spanning from the 1930s through the 1960s, Tone garnered acclaim for his ability to portray a wide range of characters with depth and sophistication. Despite his professional successes, Tone grappled with a persistent struggle with alcoholism throughout his career. The pressures of Hollywood's demanding schedules, coupled with the temptations of celebrity life, contributed to Tone's reliance on alcohol as a means of coping with the stresses of his career and personal life. Tone's battle with alcoholism often intersected with his professional endeavors, impacting his ability to maintain consistent work and affecting the quality of his performances at times. Despite his talent and dedication to his craft, periods of addiction led to sporadic career challenges and personal setbacks, underscoring the toll of his dependency on both his professional and personal life. Throughout the years, Tone made efforts to confront his addiction, seeking periods of sobriety and occasionally receiving treatment. However, the cyclical nature of alcoholism posed ongoing challenges, influencing his relationships and career trajectory in unpredictable ways. Despite these challenges, Tone's legacy endures through his memorable performances in films such as Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935, for which he received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor in a Leading Role. His ability to bring depth and nuance to his characters despite personal struggles remains a testament to his talent and dedication to his craft. Francho Tone passed away on September 18, 1968, leaving behind a legacy marked by his contributions to classic Hollywood cinema and the enduring impact of his performances. Preston Sturgis. Born Edmund Preston Biden on August 29, 1898, in Chicago, Illinois, Preston Sturgis became renowned in Hollywood for his sharp wit and comedic genius as a writer and director. During the 1940s, he achieved acclaim for his ability to blend sophisticated humor with social commentary, making him a pioneer in the screwball comedy genre. Despite his creative success, Sturgis battled a persistent struggle with alcoholism that cast a shadow over his career. The demands of Hollywood's competitive and often tumultuous environment, combined with the pressures of maintaining a prolific output, contributed to Sturgis's reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Sturgis's alcoholism affected his professional life in significant ways. At times, his addiction led to periods of erratic behavior and strained relationships with studio executives and collaborators. Despite his creative brilliance, the unpredictability stemming from his dependency occasionally disrupted production schedules and impacted the reception of his films. Throughout his career, Sturgis made efforts to confront his addiction, often seeking periods of sobriety and attempting to channel his struggles into his creative work. However, the cyclical nature of alcoholism posed ongoing challenges influencing both his personal life and professional endeavors. Despite these challenges, Sturgis left an indelible mark on Hollywood with films such as The Lady Eve, 1941, and Sullivan's Travels, 1941, which continue to be celebrated for their sharp dialogue, memorable characters, and satirical edge. His ability to inject wit and humor into his films, despite personal setbacks, remains a testament to his enduring talent and resilience in the face of adversity. Preston Sturgis passed away on August 6, 1959. William Haynes. Born Charles William Haynes on January 2, 1900, in Staunton, Virginia, William Haynes rose to prominence as a charismatic and talented actor during Hollywood's silent film era. Known for his dashing good looks and comedic timing, Haynes quickly became a popular leading man in silent films, captivating audiences with his charm and on-screen presence. In the 1920s, Haynes's career soared with successful roles in films such as Brown of Harvard, 1926, and Tell It to the Marines, 1926, establishing him as one of Hollywood's top stars. His popularity extended beyond his acting talents, as he became known for his off-screen persona as a fashionable and openly gay celebrity, which was rare and controversial for the time. However, despite his early successes, Haynes faced personal challenges that would impact his career trajectory. His struggles with alcoholism began to emerge as a significant issue, exacerbated by the pressures of Hollywood's competitive and demanding environment. As the industry transitioned to talkies in the late 1920s and early 1930s, Haynes found it increasingly difficult to maintain his status as a leading man. Haynes's dependency on alcohol contributed to a decline in his career opportunities. Studios, concerned about his reliability and public image, began to withdraw offers for leading roles. Despite attempts to continue acting in supporting roles and comedy films, Haynes's career never fully recovered from the impact of his addiction. In 1933, faced with dwindling prospects in Hollywood, Haynes made the difficult decision to retire from acting. He transitioned into a successful second career as an interior designer, leveraging his eye for style and creativity to become highly sought after among Hollywood's elite. Despite the challenges posed by alcoholism, William Haynes left a lasting legacy in both Hollywood and interior design. His early contributions to silent and early talkie cinema continue to be appreciated for their wit and charm, while his influence on interior design aesthetics remains influential to this day. William Haynes passed away on December 26, 1973, leaving behind a legacy that reflects both the highs of Hollywood stardom and the personal struggles that shaped his journey. His story serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities faced by stars in navigating fame, personal identity, and the pressures of addiction during Hollywood's golden age. Bela Lugosce. Born Bela Ferenc Dezoblasco on October 20, 1882, in Lugos, Kingdom of Hungary, now Lugoj, Romania, Bela Lugosce achieved international fame as an iconic actor in horror cinema, notably for his definitive portrayal of Count Dracula in the 1931 film adaptation. Lugosce's commanding presence, captivating accent, and theatrical charisma made him synonymous with the role of the vampire count, solidifying his status as a horror film legend. Despite his success and enduring legacy in the horror genre, Lugosce faced personal demons that impacted his Hollywood career. Throughout his time in the spotlight, Lugosce battled a profound addiction to alcohol, which exacerbated his struggles with mental health and impacted his professional endeavors. The pressures of maintaining a public persona as the master of macabre took a toll on Lugosce, leading him to rely on alcohol as a coping mechanism. His addiction often resulted in erratic behavior and strained relationships within the industry, hindering his ability to capitalize fully on his early success as Dracula. Despite periodic attempts to seek treatment and regain control over his addiction, including brief periods of sobriety, Lugosce's battle with alcoholism persisted throughout his life. The cyclical nature of addiction frequently interrupted his career momentum and led to missed opportunities in Hollywood. Nevertheless, Lugosce's impact on the horror genre remains undeniable. Beyond his iconic portrayal of Dracula, he continued to appear in numerous horror films and gained a dedicated fan following for his distinctive style and magnetic screen presence. His ability to evoke both fear and sympathy from audiences solidified his place in cinematic history. Bela Lugosce passed away on August 16, 1956, leaving behind a legacy marked by his contributions to horror cinema and the enduring influence of his portrayal of Count Dracula. His story serves as a reminder of the complexities faced by actors in navigating fame, personal challenges, and the enduring allure of Hollywood's darker realms. Dorothy McCale. Born Dorothy Davenport on March 4, 1903 in Kingston upon Hull, England, Dorothy McCale was a talented actress who made her mark during Hollywood's silent film era and early talkies. Known for her beauty, versatility, and on-screen presence, McCale captivated audiences with her performances in a variety of roles, ranging from romantic comedies to dramas. Despite her professional successes, McCale faced personal challenges that would impact her career and personal life. Like many in Hollywood during her time, she struggled with alcohol addiction, which became a persistent issue throughout her career. The pressures of maintaining a public image, combined with the demanding and competitive nature of the film industry, contributed to her reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. McCale's addiction affected her ability to secure consistent and substantial roles in Hollywood. Despite her talent and appeal, periods of dependency led to erratic behavior and professional setbacks, hampering her career trajectory and limiting opportunities for significant roles. Throughout her life, McCale made efforts to confront her addiction, seeking treatment and periods of sobriety. However, the cyclical nature of alcoholism posed ongoing challenges, impacting both her personal life and professional endeavors. Despite the difficulties posed by her addiction, Dorothy McCale left behind a legacy of memorable performances and contributions to early Hollywood cinema. Her ability to captivate audiences with her charm and versatility continues to be appreciated by film enthusiasts, highlighting her enduring impact on the industry. Dorothy McCale passed away on August 12, 1990, leaving behind a legacy marked by her talent, resilience, and the complexities of navigating fame and personal challenges during Hollywood's golden age. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the pressures faced by actors and actresses in the early days of cinema and the personal toll of addiction on their lives and careers. Louise Brooks. Born Mary Louise Brooks on November 14, 1906, in Cherryvale, Kansas, Louise Brooks emerged as an iconic figure in silent film history, celebrated for her distinctive bob haircut and magnetic screen presence. Her breakthrough role in G.W. Pabst's Pandora's Box, 1929, solidified her status as a symbol of the liberated and modern woman of the 1920s. Despite her early success and enduring influence on cinema, Brooks faced profound personal struggles throughout her life. Among these challenges were battles with alcoholism and mental health issues, which cast shadows over her career and personal relationships. The pressures of fame and the demanding nature of the film industry contributed to Brooks's reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Her addiction occasionally led to erratic behavior and strained professional opportunities, impacting her ability to capitalize fully on her early acclaim. Beyond her struggles with alcoholism, Brooks also grappled with mental health issues, including bouts of depression and anxiety. These challenges added layers of complexity to her personal life and career, influencing her relationships and artistic pursuits. Louise Brooks passed away on August 8, 1985, leaving behind a legacy marked by her artistic vision, personal struggles, and the enduring allure of her cinematic presence. Jean Eagles. Born Eugenia Eagles on June 26, 1890, in Kansas City, Missouri, Jean Eagles was a stage and film actress whose talent and intensity captivated audiences during the early 20th century. She gained acclaim for her powerful performances on Broadway and later transitioned to Hollywood, where she made a significant impact despite a tragically short film career. Eagles' breakthrough role came with her portrayal of Leslie Crosby in the 1929 film adaptation of W. Somerset Maugham's play, The Letter. Her performance as a woman embroiled in scandal and intrigue earned her widespread praise and a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Actress, cementing her reputation as a formidable talent in both stage and screen. However, behind her professional success lay personal struggles that would profoundly affect her life and career. Throughout her adult life, Eagles battled with alcoholism and substance abuse, which often overshadowed her artistic achievements. The pressures of fame, coupled with the demanding nature of her work, contributed to her reliance on alcohol and drugs as coping mechanisms. Eagles' addiction issues led to periods of erratic behavior and strained relationships, both personal and professional. Despite efforts to seek treatment and intermittent periods of sobriety, her dependency continued to impact her ability to maintain a stable career trajectory and fully capitalize on her early successes. Despite these challenges, Eagles' talent and presence on stage and screen left an indelible mark on the entertainment industry. Her ability to portray complex characters with depth and emotional authenticity resonated deeply with audiences, showcasing her ability to capture the complexities of human emotion and frailty. Tragically, Jean Eagles' life was cut short at the age of 39 on October 3, 1929, due to complications from alcoholism and drug addiction. Her untimely death marked the premature end of a career that showed immense promise and potential, leaving behind a legacy defined by her talent, intensity, and the tragic consequences of addiction in the golden age of Hollywood.
The red carpets, the flashing cameras, the adoring fans all create an illusion of invincibility. But what happens when the curtains close, the lights dim, and the stars are left alone with their own human frailties? For some, this solitude becomes a breeding ground for self-destructive habits, particularly alcoholism. And for a tragic few, the bottle becomes both a confidant and a killer, leading them down a path from which there is no return. These are some of the Hollywood actors who drank themselves to death. Veronica Lake. Born Constance Frances Marie Aukelman in 1922, was the epitome of Hollywood glamour in the 1940s. With her signature peekaboo hairstyle and sultry looks, she became an overnight sensation after her role in the 1941 film Sullivan's Travels. However, her rapid ascent to stardom was matched by an equally rapid descent into alcoholism. Lake's career began to wane by the late 1940s. Her erratic behavior on set, fueled by her increasing alcohol consumption, made her difficult to work with. By 1952, her contract with Paramount Pictures was not renewed, and she found herself performing in a small nightclub in New York to make ends meet. Her struggles with alcohol also led to the collapse of her marriages. She was married and divorced 4 times. In 1973, at the age of 50, Lake died of acute hepatitis and acute kidney injury. conditions exacerbated by years of alcohol abuse. She was found dead in her apartment in Burlington, Vermont, a tragic end to a life that had once held so much promise. Judy Garland, born Frances Ethel Gumm. In 1922, Judy Garland captured hearts as the innocent Dorothy in the 1939 classic The Wizard of Oz. Her voice was magical, her presence undeniable, but behind the scenes, Garland faced immense pressure from studio executives. They controlled her diet, her appearance, and even her sleep, often giving her pills to manage her energy levels. Garland's reliance on medication soon turned into dependency, and alcohol became another means to cope with her stressful life. Her career had its ups and downs. She was lauded for her performances in films like A Star is Born in 1954, but faced professional setbacks due to her erratic behavior and frequent illnesses, often attributed to her alcoholism. Her personal life was equally tumultuous. Garland was married 5 times, and each relationship was fraught with issues, including her struggles with substance abuse. On June 22, 1969, Garland was found dead in her London apartment. The cause was an accidental overdose of barbiturates, but years of alcohol abuse had taken their toll. She was only 47 years old. Billie Holiday, the voice silenced by cirrhosis. Born Eleonora Fagan in 1915, was one of the most influential jazz singers of all time. Her emotive voice, innovative techniques, and the raw honesty of her music made her an icon. However, Holiday's life was far from easy. She faced racial discrimination, abusive relationships, and a long-standing battle with substance abuse. Holiday's career took off in the 1930s, but her personal life was marred by a series of unfortunate events, including multiple arrests for drug possession. Alcohol became a constant companion, a way to numb the pain of a life filled with hardships. By the late 1950s, her health had deteriorated significantly due to cirrhosis of the liver, a direct result of her alcoholism. On July 17, 1959, Billie Holiday passed away in a New York City hospital. The official cause of death was cirrhosis of the liver. She was just 44 years old, her life and career cut tragically short by the very substances she used to cope with her difficult life. Carole Lombard, the comedy queen's untimely demise. Known for her roles in screwball comedies like My Man Godfrey, 1936, and Nothing Sacred, 1937, she was one of the highest-paid stars in Hollywood during the late 1930s. Her marriage to Clark Gable in 1939 seemed like a fairy tale, but behind the laughter and love was a woman grappling with personal demons, including a dependency on alcohol. Her drinking was initially social, a part of the Hollywood scene, but it escalated as she faced the pressures of maintaining her career and public image. The stress intensified during World War II as she became actively involved in war efforts, even going so far as to participate in a war bond tour. It was during this tour that tragedy struck. On January 16, 1942, the plane carrying her and 21 others crashed into a mountain near Las Vegas, killing everyone on board. She was only 33 years old. The official investigation cited pilot error as the cause, but rumors swirled about Lombard's state during the flight. Witnesses claimed she had been drinking before boarding, raising questions about whether alcohol played a role in the tragedy. While these claims were never substantiated, what remains clear is that her untimely death left a void in Hollywood and in the hearts of millions of fans. Her legacy, however, endures. She's remembered not just for her roles in iconic films, but also for her vivacious spirit and her contributions to the war effort. Yet her life serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even those who seem to have it all can be fighting battles we know nothing about. Jean Harlo, the blonde bombshell's battle with alcohol. She burst onto the Hollywood scene in the early 1930s, quickly becoming a sensation for her platinum blonde hair and sultry screen presence. Films like Hell's Angels, 1930, and Red Dust, 1932, catapulted her to stardom, making her one of the most sought-after actresses of her time. But behind the glamorous facade was a woman struggling with the pressures of fame and a growing dependence on alcohol. The studios capitalized on her image as a sex symbol, But this objectification took a toll on her self-esteem. To cope with the stress, she turned to alcohol, a decision that would have dire consequences. Her drinking began affecting her work. She would often show up late on set, and her performances started to suffer. The studio executives, concerned about their investment, tried to intervene, but to little avail. Her health began to deteriorate rapidly. In early 1937, she was diagnosed with acute nephritis, a severe kidney condition. Despite her illness, she continued to drink, exacerbating her health problems. On June 7, 1937, she died from complications related to her condition. She was just 26 years old. The news of her death shocked Hollywood and the world. Fans mourned the loss of a star who had shone so brightly yet burned out so quickly. Her story serves as a grim reminder of the destructive power of alcohol, especially when combined with the pressures of fame. It's a tale that has been told too often in Hollywood, a place where the lights can sometimes blind us to the darker aspects of life. Barbara Payton, A Starlet's Downfall to Skid Row. She was a promising actress in the early 1950s, with roles in films like Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, 1950, alongside James Cagney. Her beauty and talent seemed to promise a long, successful career in Hollywood. However, a series of poor choices, both personal and professional, led her down a path of self-destruction. Payton's life began to unravel when she became embroiled in a highly publicized love triangle with actors Francho Tone and Tom Neal. The scandal was fodder for the tabloids and damaged her reputation in the industry. As film roles became scarce, she turned to alcohol to numb the pain of her faltering career and tumultuous personal life. Her drinking escalated quickly, leading to arrests and public incidents that further tarnished her image. By the late 1950s, she was no longer employable as an actress and began working in a variety of low-paying jobs, including as a waitress and a cashier. The glamour and promise of her early years in Hollywood seemed like a distant memory. In 1967, at the age of 39, Payton was found dead in her apartment in San Diego. The cause of death was acute alcohol poisoning. Her life had spiraled so far out of control that she was virtually unrecognizable as the starlet who had once graced the silver screen. Her story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of alcoholism and the fleeting nature of fame. It's a stark reminder that the bright lights of Hollywood can cast long, dark shadows. Chris Farley, the comedian, consumed by addiction. He burst onto the comedy scene in the early 90s, becoming an instant fan favorite on Saturday Night Live with his larger-than-life personality and physical comedy. His transition to film seemed natural, with hits like Tommy Boy in 1995 and Black Sheep, 1996, cementing his status as a comedy star. But behind the laughter was a man struggling with severe addiction issues, including alcoholism. Farley's quick rise to fame came with its own set of pressures. The expectations for each new project were high, and the comedian turned to alcohol and drugs as coping mechanisms. His weight ballooned and his health deteriorated, but the partying continued. Multiple stints in rehab did little to curb his self-destructive behavior. His friends and family watched helplessly as his life spiraled out of control. On December 18, 1997, Farley was found dead in his Chicago apartment. The cause of death was a drug overdose, but years of alcohol abuse had taken a significant toll on his body. He was only 33 years old. The news of his death sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Fans mourned the loss of a comedic genius whose life had been cut tragically short. His story serves as a heartbreaking example of how addiction can consume even the most talented individuals, leaving behind a legacy of unfulfilled potential and sorrow. John Belushi, The Life of the Party Ends in Tragedy. A founding member of the Not Ready for Prime Time players on Saturday Night Live, he became a cultural icon in the late 70s. His comedic style was boisterous, physical, and utterly captivating. Films like Animal House, 1978, and The Blues Brothers, 1980, showcased his talent and versatility, but they also perpetuated his hard-partying image, an image that would ultimately prove fatal. The pressure to maintain his comedic persona led him to a life of excess marked by heavy drinking and drug use. His behavior became increasingly erratic, affecting both his personal relationships and professional commitments. Despite the interventions of friends and family, he seemed unable to escape the grip of his addictions. On March 5, 1982, he was found dead in his room at the Chateau Marmont in Hollywood. The cause of death was a lethal combination of cocaine and heroin, known as a speedball, but chronic alcohol abuse had also taken a toll on his health. He was just 33 years old, the same age as his friend and fellow comedian Chris Farley when he died. Montgomery Clift, a tortured soul lost to alcohol. A four-time Academy Award nominee, he was one of the most celebrated actors of the 1950s. His performances in films like A Place in the Sun, 1951, and From Here to Eternity, 1953, were critically acclaimed, earning him a reputation as a serious and talented actor. However, his life off-screen was far less idyllic, marred by a deep-rooted struggle with alcoholism. The turning point came in 1956 when he was involved in a near-fatal car accident that left him severely disfigured. The accident and subsequent surgeries took a toll on his mental health, and he turned to alcohol to cope with the pain and anxiety. His drinking affected his ability to work, directors found him increasingly difficult to manage, and his performances suffered as a result. By the 1960s, his career had declined significantly. The roles were fewer, and his health was deteriorating rapidly. Despite attempts to get sober, he couldn't escape the clutches of his addiction. On July 23, 1966, he was found dead in his New York City apartment. The official cause of death was a heart attack, but it was widely acknowledged that years of alcohol abuse had contributed to his early demise. He was only 45 years old. Dana Plato, a child star's descent into darkness. She captured America's heart as Kimberly Drummond on the popular TV show Different Strokes, which aired from 1978 to 1986. The show's success made her a household name, but it also exposed her to the pitfalls of early fame. As she transitioned from child star to adult actress, she found it difficult to secure roles, leading to a sense of frustration and inadequacy. To cope with her waning career and mounting personal issues, she turned to alcohol and drugs. Her substance abuse led to erratic behavior, making it even more challenging to find work in an industry that had already typecast her. Legal troubles soon followed. She was arrested multiple times for offenses ranging from forgery to robbery. Her life reached a tragic climax on May 8, 1999, when she was found dead in her RV. Parked outside her fiancé's mother's home in Oklahoma, the cause of death was ruled as an overdose of prescription medication, a combination of a muscle relaxant and a painkiller. However, her long-term struggle with alcohol was a contributing factor to her downward spiral. She was 34 years old at the time of her death. Dana Plato's story is a heartbreaking example of how the pressures of fame can lead to self-destructive behavior. Her life serves as a cautionary tale, illustrating the dark side of celebrity and the devastating consequences of addiction. It's a grim reminder that the transition from child star to adult can be fraught with peril, especially when complicated by substance abuse. River Phoenix, the rising star who burned out too soon. He was a prodigious talent, earning an Academy Award nomination at the age of 18 for his role in Running on Empty, 1988. His performances in films like Stand By Me, 1986, and My Own Private Idaho, 1991, showcased his range and depth, making him one of the most promising actors of his generation. But beneath the accolades and the public adoration lay a young man grappling with the pressures of fame and a growing dependency on alcohol and drugs. His substance abuse began as a coping mechanism to deal with the stress and expectations that came with his rapid rise to stardom. Despite his young age, he was already shouldering the burden of being the primary breadwinner for his family, adding another layer of pressure. His drinking escalated, often affecting his behavior on set and causing concern among those who cared about him. On the night of October 31st, 1993, he collapsed outside the Viper Room, a nightclub in West Hollywood. He was rushed to the hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. The cause of death was acute multiple drug intoxication, including heroin and cocaine. However, his long-term abuse of alcohol had also played a role in his tragic end. He was only 23 years old at the time of his death. His untimely passing shocked the world, leaving fans and the film industry to mourn the loss of a talent that had seemed limitless. His story serves as a stark warning about the dangers of substance abuse, particularly for those in the public eye. Margot Hemingway, the supermodel, haunted by inner demons, granddaughter of the famed writer Ernest Hemingway, she seemed destined for greatness from the start. She made a name for herself as a supermodel in the 1970s, gracing the covers of top fashion magazines and becoming the first model to secure $1 million contract for a cosmetics campaign. Her transition to acting, including a role in the 1976 film Lipstick, appeared to signal a new chapter in her already successful career. However, behind the camera flashes and red carpet events was a woman tormented by personal struggles, including alcoholism. Her battle with alcohol began in her early 20s, exacerbated by the pressures of her high-profile career and a family history of substance abuse. Despite her public persona as a glamorous and confident woman, she suffered from depression and low self-esteem, issues that alcohol temporarily masked but ultimately worsened. As her career waned in the 1980s, her drinking escalated. Multiple stints in rehab failed to provide a lasting solution, and her personal life became increasingly unstable. On July 1st, 1996, she was found dead in her Santa Monica apartment. The cause of death was suicide by overdose, but her chronic alcohol abuse was a contributing factor. She was 41 years old at the time of her death. Jim Morrison, the rock legend who couldn't escape his vices. As the charismatic frontman of The Doors, he became an iconic figure in rock music during the late 1960s. His poetic lyrics and magnetic stage presence captivated audiences, making him one of the most influential musicians of his time. However, his rapid ascent to fame came with a heavy price, as he grappled with alcoholism and drug addiction. His relationship with alcohol was complex and destructive. It fueled his creativity but also led to erratic behavior, both on and off the stage. Arrests for public indecency and confrontations with law enforcement became frequent, tarnishing his public image. Despite the negative impact on his career and personal life, he seemed unable or unwilling to break free from his addictions. On July 3, 1971, he was found dead in the bathtub of his Paris apartment. The official cause of death was heart failure, but no autopsy was performed due to French legal regulations. He was 27 years old, joining the infamous 27 Club, a group of musicians who died at that age. While the exact circumstances of his death remain a subject of speculation, it is widely accepted that his years of alcohol and drug abuse were contributing factors. Janis Joplin, the queen of rock and roll's battle with the bottle. She burst onto the music scene in the late 1960s, her soulful voice and electric stage presence quickly earning her the title of the Queen of Rock and Roll. Her hits like Piece of My Heart and Me and Bobby McGee are timeless classics, but her life was cut tragically short, largely due to her struggles with alcohol and drug addiction. From her early days in the San Francisco music scene, she was known for her hard-living lifestyle. Alcohol became a constant companion, often seen swigging from a bottle of Southern Comfort during performances. While her raw energy and emotional intensity were part of her allure, they also masked deep-seated insecurities and emotional pain, which she sought to numb through substance abuse. Her career was on an upward trajectory, with her second solo album, Pearl, poised to become her most successful yet. However, she would not live to see its release. On October 4, 1970, she was found dead in her hotel room in Hollywood. The cause of death was a heroin overdose, but her chronic alcohol abuse had also taken a toll on her health. She was 27 years old, another member of the ill-fated 27 Club. Heath Ledger, a brilliant actor's final act. He was a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood, earning critical acclaim for roles in films like Brokeback Mountain, 2005, and The Dark Knight, 2008. His portrayal of the Joker remains one of the most iconic performances in cinematic history. However, behind the accolades and the fame was a man struggling with the pressures of his rapidly ascending career, turning to alcohol and prescription drugs as coping mechanisms. His friends and family noticed changes in his behavior as he became more reclusive, often locking himself away to prepare for roles. The intensity with which he approached his craft began to take a physical and emotional toll. Sleep became elusive, and he relied on a cocktail of prescription medications to manage his insomnia and anxiety. On January 22, 2008, he was found dead in his New York City apartment. The cause of death was ruled as an accidental overdose of prescription medications, including sleeping pills and anti-anxiety drugs. However, his history of alcohol abuse was also a contributing factor, exacerbating the effects of the medications. He was 28 years old at the time of his death. His untimely passing left the world in shock, mourning the loss of an actor whose potential seemed limitless. His story serves as a grim reminder of the dangers of mixing alcohol with prescription medications, a lethal combination that can lead to tragic outcomes. It's a cautionary tale that underscores the need for greater awareness and understanding of the risks associated with substance abuse, even among those who seem to have it all. The stories of these talented individuals serve as a collective cautionary tale, illustrating the devastating impact that alcoholism and substance abuse can have. Each of them reached the pinnacle of success in their respective fields, captivating audiences with their artistry. Yet each also faced personal demons that ultimately led to their untimely deaths. The broader impact of these tragedies extends beyond the loss of talent. Families were shattered, fans were left heartbroken, and the entertainment industry lost some of its brightest stars. These stories also serve as a wake-up call, highlighting the urgent need for mental health support and addiction treatment, particularly within the high-pressure environment of Hollywood. It's a grim reality that substance abuse is often glamorized or overlooked, especially when it involves celebrities. Yet, as these profiles reveal, no amount of fame or fortune can shield one from the destructive power of addiction.
When you hear the name Frances Farmer, what comes to mind? Maybe her impeccable talent, or maybe her beauty and grace? Well, there's more to this legendary actress than most know about. From the fact that she single-handedly took on the entire system in Hollywood, to the harsh allegations and stumbles that her life and career threw at her, many occurrences would have been best kept secret, but they all make the eventful, sad, tragic, and intriguing life of Frances Farmer. So let's start from the top. The onset of stardom. Frances Elena Farmer was born on September 19, 1913, in Seattle, Washington. Her mother, Cora Lillian Van Ornum, was a boarding house operator and dietitian, while her father, Ernest Melvin Farmer, was a lawyer. Her father came from Spring Valley, Minnesota, and her mother was from Oregon, with roots tracing back to pioneers. Frances had an older sister named Edith, an older brother named Wesley, and an older half-sister named Rita from her mother's first marriage. Tragically, before Wesley and Edith were born, her mother lost another daughter to pneumonia during infancy. When Frances was just 4 years old, her parents separated, and her mother moved the children to Los Angeles to be closer to her sister, Zella. In early 1925, the family relocated to Chico, California, where Lillian pursued a career in nutrition research. However, the demands of caring for her children soon overwhelmed her, and she decided it was best for them to return to their father in Seattle. Their Aunt Zella drove them to Albany, Oregon, where they boarded a train back north. This turbulent period had a profound effect on Frances. She later recalled that the trip marked the end of her dependent childhood, forcing her to grapple with the unpredictable nature of adults and her shifting home life. Lillian eventually returned to Seattle after her home in Chico burned down, but she and Ernest remained separated. The family shared a household, though the parents did not reconcile. In the fall of 1929, when Frances was 16, Lillian and Ernest finalized their divorce, and Lillian moved to Bremerton, Washington, leaving the children with their father. Frances attended West Seattle High School, where she distinguished herself not only as a student, but as a writer. In 1931, as a senior, she entered a writing contest sponsored by Scholastic magazine and won $100 for her essay titled God Dies. This essay, influenced by her readings of Friedrich Nietzsche, was a bold exploration of her spiritual doubts and agnosticism, controversial for its time and reflective of her intellectual curiosity and independent thinking. After high school, Frances enrolled at the University of Washington, initially majoring in journalism. She worked various jobs to support herself, including stints as an usherette, waitress, tutor, soap factory laborer, and singing waitress at Mount Rainier National Park. During her sophomore year, she became involved in the university's drama department, starring in numerous plays such as Helen of Troy, Everyman, and Uncle Vanya. Her performance in the 1934 production of Alien Corn earned her favorable reviews, signaling her potential as a serious actress. In her final year of college in 1935, Frances won a contest for the leftist newspaper The Voice of Action, which awarded her a trip to the Soviet Union. Despite her mother's objections, Frances accepted the prize, motivated by her desire to see the pioneering work of the Moscow Art Theater. This trip fueled speculation about her political beliefs, with some suggesting she was a communist. The same year, she graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in drama, setting the stage for her entry into Hollywood. An illustrious career begins. In the summer of 1935, after returning from the Soviet Union, Frances Farmer made a stop in New York City with the aim of beginning a theater career. During her stay, she met talent agent Shepard Traub, who saw her potential and connected her with Oscar Serlin, a talent scout from Paramount Pictures. Serlin arranged a screen test for Farmer, which led to an incredible opportunity. Paramount offered her a 7-year contract, which she signed in New York City on her 22nd birthday. Following her screen tests on Long Island, Farmer moved to Los Angeles to commence her work with Paramount. Upon her arrival, she underwent dental surgery to correct a gap in her front teeth, a common procedure for aspiring stars to meet Hollywood's beauty standards. She spent countless hours on the Paramount studio lot, engaged in screen testing and extensive training. By November 1935, she had secured her first role in the B-movie Too Many Parents, 1936, a comedy about young men in military school. The film was a box office success, marking a promising start to her Hollywood career. Shortly after completing the film in February 1936, Farmer married Leif Erikson, a fellow Paramount contract player she had met on the studio lot. With her marriage, she continued to build her career, landing a lead role in the drama Border Flight. Later that same year, Farmer achieved a significant milestone by being cast in her first A feature, Rhythm on the Range, a Western starring Bing Crosby. She later reminisced about the film, revealing that she had a crush on Crosby since high school and felt awestruck to work alongside him as his leading lady in her first major film. The film garnered favorable reviews and significantly boosted Farmer's public reputation. After its release, Paramount studio head Adolf Zukor called her and advised her to start acting like a rising star. However, Farmer resisted the Hollywood lifestyle, preferring to spend time at her home in Laurel Canyon with Erikson and declining invitations to Hollywood parties and events. In an attempt to market her, Paramount branded her in press releases as the star who would not go Hollywood, emphasizing her eccentric fashion choices. During the summer of 1936, Farmer was lent to Samuel Goldwyn to appear in Come and Get It, based on Edna Ferber's novel. In the film, she portrayed a young woman pursued by her mother's former lover. Initially directed by Howard Hawks, the film saw a directorial change when William Wyler replaced Hawks midway through production. Farmer, unsure about the change, clashed with Wyler during filming. Wyler later commented that the nicest thing he could say about her was that she was unbearable. Despite their tumultuous working relationship, Hawks admired Farmer's talent, stating she had more talent than anyone he had ever worked with. The film's premiere took place in Seattle, Farmer's hometown, where she maintained a quiet and reserved demeanor, leading to news reports labeling her as cold and aloof. Nonetheless, Come and Get It received praise from both the public and critics, with many reviews hailing Farmer as a newfound star, even comparing her to Greta Garbo. In 1937, Farmer was lent to RKO to star opposite Cary Grant in The Toast of New York, a film about a Wall Street tycoon. The production was fraught with difficulties as Farmer was unhappy with the rebranding of her character from a hard-edged vixen to an ingenue fresh from Sunnybrook. On set, she argued with director Roland V. Lee and gave dismissive interviews to the press. Dissatisfied with the direction her career was taking after The Toast of New York, Farmer resisted the studio's attempts to control her and their efforts to glamorize her private life. A 1937 article in Collier's magazine sympathetically described her as indifferent to her clothing and noted that she drove an older model green roadster. Also in 1937, she appeared in the crime drama exclusive opposite Fred McMurray and the Technicolor adventure film Ebb Tide opposite Ray Milland. However, as she rose to fame and became all she ever wanted in Hollywood, Frances Farmer was seen as a tool by studio executives, and they attempted to control her. Thankfully, she had a strong will and a bold personality. Exposure to the dark side of Hollywood. Hollywood around the 1930s was not a pretty sight, especially behind the scenes. Studio executives wielded immense power, often treating actors as mere commodities. These executives, the unseen puppeteers, orchestrated every move of the stars they created, ensuring that every smile, every line, and every appearance was meticulously controlled to maximize profit. They thrived on the submission and conformity of their stars, but Frances Farmer was not one to conform. From the moment she set foot in Hollywood, Farmer's fiery spirit and determination to retain her individuality were evident. While most newcomers would eagerly submit to the studio's demands, Frances displayed an unusual defiance. Paramount Pictures, one of the most influential studios, quickly realized they had a different kind of star on their hands. Despite their attempts to mold her into the perfect Hollywood actress, Frances resisted fiercely. Farmer's outspoken nature made her a thorn in the side of studio executives. She challenged the oppressive norms of the industry, openly criticizing the lack of creative freedom and the manipulative practices of the studio heads. She refused to attend glamorous parties, shunned the superficial lifestyle, and publicly derided the industry's pretentiousness. This rebellious attitude was both a strength and a vulnerability. One significant clash occurred during the filming of Come and Get It. Initially directed by Howard Hawks, the production saw a midway directorial switch to William Wyler, a move that angered Frances. Her defiance was palpable, resulting in heated exchanges with Wyler, who later remarked that the nicest thing he could say about her was that she was unbearable. Yet Hawks, who had seen her talent firsthand, maintained that she possessed more talent than anyone he had ever worked with. Frances's tumultuous relationship with directors was a reflection of her broader resistance to the control exerted by studio executives. The consequences of Frances's rebellious behavior were swift and severe. Paramount, frustrated by her nonconformity, sought to rein her in by branding her as the star who would not go Hollywood, capitalizing on her eccentricity while subtly attempting to isolate her. Despite her successful performances in films like Rhythm on the Range and Come and Get It, her defiance meant that studio heads viewed her as a liability. The industry's response to her rebellion was not to support or understand, but to control and punish. Farmer was lent to other studios, often relegated to roles that did not match her talent or ambitions. Her dissatisfaction with her career direction became apparent during the production of The Toast of New York, where she clashed with director Roland V. Lee and expressed her disdain for the industry in interviews. The secret she tried to hide. Frances Farmer's personal life was as tumultuous as her career. The vivacious actress, often caught in the public eye, struggled to balance her professional and private worlds. Her marriage to fellow Paramount contract player Leif Erikson in 1936 was a notable chapter in her life. However, the pressures of Hollywood and their careers took a toll on their relationship, which was further strained by Farmer's growing discontent with the industry. Despite the glamorous image projected by the studio, Farmer's personal life was far from perfect. She often found solace in her home in Laurel Canyon, preferring the quiet of her private sanctuary to the glitzy Hollywood parties. This retreat into her personal space, however, did not shield her from the relentless scrutiny and control exerted by the studio executives. Beneath the surface of her rebellious exterior, Frances Farmer grappled with significant mental health issues. The pressures of stardom, combined with her intrinsic defiance of the Hollywood system, led to severe emotional turmoil. In an era when mental health was poorly understood and often stigmatized, Farmer's struggles were compounded by a lack of proper support and treatment. Substance abuse became a tragic coping mechanism for Farmer. The cocktail of alcohol and prescribed medications she relied on further clouded her judgment and exacerbated her mental health issues. This spiral of addiction and untreated mental illness led to increasingly erratic behavior, which the studios were ill-equipped to manage with anything other than punitive measures. The culmination of Farmer's struggles came in 1942 when she was infamously arrested for driving with her headlights on high beam, a minor infraction that escalated dramatically. Her arrest quickly devolved into a scandal amplified by her defiance and the subsequent sensationalist media coverage. During the arrest, Farmer's outburst and resistance to the police were widely publicized, painting her as a volatile and unhinged star. The aftermath of the arrest was even more damning. The court deemed her behavior as evidence of severe mental instability, leading to a series of incarcerations in psychiatric institutions. These institutions, far from providing the help she needed, subjected her to brutal treatments, including electroconvulsive therapy and lobotomy, practices that were more punitive than therapeutic. The nightmare continues. By the early 1940s, Farmer's mental health had deteriorated significantly. Her defiance against the studio system, coupled with her struggles with substance abuse, led to increasingly erratic behavior. The public nature of her troubles only intensified the scrutiny and pressure she faced. The infamous 1942 arrest was the turning point. After being apprehended for a minor traffic violation, Farmer's vehement resistance and the subsequent courtroom outburst were widely reported. Labeled as unmanageable and unstable, the court ordered a psychiatric evaluation. The media, ever hungry for scandal, painted her as a madwoman, and the judicial system, influenced by the sensationalist press and the lack of understanding of mental health, deemed her unfit. The result was her commitment to a series of psychiatric institutions, starting with the Kimball Sanitarium in La Crescenta, California. On the other hand, Farmer's time in psychiatric institutions was marked by allegations of severe mistreatment and abuse, transforming her struggle into a nightmarish ordeal. These facilities, far from being havens of healing, subjected her to a series of punitive treatments that were both archaic and inhumane. Reports and accounts from Farmer and those close to her painted a grim picture of the conditions she endured. At Western State Hospital in Steilacoom, Washington, where she spent a significant portion of her institutionalization, Farmer allegedly underwent electroconvulsive therapy, ECT. This treatment, often administered without proper anesthesia or consent, was excruciating and left her disoriented and traumatized. ECT was used liberally during that era, more as a tool to subdue and control patients than to offer genuine therapeutic benefits. Farmer also recounted being subjected to hydrotherapy, which involved being submerged in cold water for extended periods, and prolonged solitary confinement. These methods were intended to break her spirit and force compliance. However, the most harrowing allegation was that of a transorbital lobotomy, a procedure that was rumored but never conclusively proven. If true, this would have had devastating and irreversible effects on her mental and emotional faculties. Beyond the physical torture, Farmer faced psychological abuse and neglect. Isolated from her family and friends, she was stripped of her dignity and humanity. The staff, seeing her as merely another unruly patient, treated her with contempt and indifference. This compounded her sense of abandonment and hopelessness, deepening her psychological scars. The years Frances Farmer spent in psychiatric institutions irreparably damaged her life and career. Emerging from the harrowing experiences, she was a shadow of her former self. The once vibrant and defiant actress was now subdued, her spirit broken by the relentless abuse and mistreatment. The stigma of her institutionalization followed her, overshadowing her previous achievements and tainting public perception. Her career, once brimming with potential, was in ruins. Hollywood, ever fickle, had moved on, and the industry that once celebrated her talent now shunned her. Attempts to resurrect her career met with limited success. In the 1950s, Farmer made sporadic appearances on stage and television, but she was never able to recapture the heights of her early success. The public, conditioned by years of scandalous headlines, viewed her with a mixture of pity and suspicion. The psychological toll of her institutionalization was profound. Farmer struggled with trust and intimacy, her relationships marred by the trauma she endured. Her mental health, though somewhat stabilized, remained fragile, and she battled with the lasting effects of the abuse for the rest of her life. The narrative of her life became a cautionary tale of the brutal realities faced by those who fall out of favor with Hollywood's powerful elite. Failed attempts at a comeback. Emerging from the shadows of psychiatric institutions in the early 1950s, Frances Farmer embarked on a courageous journey to reclaim her career and life. The Hollywood she re-entered was markedly different from the one she had left, with new stars and shifting trends. Despite the odds, Farmer's determination to revive her career was unwavering. Farmer's first significant step towards a comeback came with her return to the stage. She appeared in regional theater productions, where she found solace and a semblance of normalcy. Farmer's attempts to revive her career were met with challenges, both within the industry and in her personal life. The Hollywood elite, wary of her troubled history, were reluctant to offer her significant roles. The industry's focus on youth and glamour further marginalized Farmer, who was now in her 40s and bore the scars of her ordeals. The press, ever eager for sensational stories, continued to scrutinize her every move. Any misstep or hint of instability was magnified, making it difficult for Farmer to fully escape her past. The constant public and media scrutiny took a toll on her mental health, exacerbating her struggles. On a personal level, Farmer faced numerous obstacles. Her relationships were often strained by the residual effects of her institutionalization and the trauma she had endured. Trust issues and emotional scars made it difficult for her to form lasting connections. She experienced periods of isolation and depression, battling the lingering demons of her past. Farmer's financial situation was also precarious. The years of institutionalization had drained her resources, and the sporadic nature of her work provided little financial security. She often relied on the support of friends and family who stood by her during her most challenging times. Despite these hardships, Farmer showed remarkable resilience. Her autobiography, Will There Really Be a Morning, published in 1972, offered a candid and poignant account of her life and struggles. The book received critical acclaim and helped to shift public perception, portraying Farmer not just as a tragic figure, but as a survivor of a deeply flawed system. Her sad final years. Frances Farmer's final years were a blend of quiet resilience and lingering sorrow. After her show, Frances Farmer Presents, ended in 1964, she retreated from the public eye, choosing to live a more private life. Her health, both mental and physical, continued to be a concern, with bouts of illness and depression marking her later years. In the late 1960s, she moved to a small home in Indianapolis, where she lived with a companion who provided care and support. Her life became one of relative solitude, far removed from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Yet, in this quiet existence, Farmer found a degree of peace. Tragically, Frances Farmer passed away on August 1, 1970, at the age of 56 from esophageal cancer. Her death marked the end of a tumultuous journey.
Imagine a Hollywood where the stars you know and love didn't just grace the silver screen, but also battled demons so dark they could rival any movie villain. What if I told you that some of the most iconic faces in film history had lives that were more tragic than the roles they played? Buckle up, because we're diving deep into the untold stories of Golden Age Hollywood actors and actresses who drank themselves to death, cut short by their own vices. You won't believe how their dazzling careers turned into real-life horror stories. Jean Seberg, The American in Paris, Lost but Never Forgotten. A symbol of the French New Wave cinema, she was an American actress who found fame across the Atlantic. Born on November 13, 1938, in Marshalltown, Iowa, she was catapulted to international stardom with her role in Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, 1960. Her pixie haircut and gamine beauty became iconic, influencing fashion and film for years to come. However, her life was far from the glamour it seemed. She became involved in political activism, supporting civil rights and anti-war movements, which drew the attention of the FBI. The agency's surveillance and harassment took a severe emotional toll on her, leading her to seek solace in alcohol. Her drinking became a way to cope with the constant stress and anxiety, affecting her career and personal relationships. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, she faced a series of personal tragedies, including a stillbirth, which was widely publicized due to the FBI's smear campaign against her. Her mental health deteriorated, and her reliance on alcohol became more pronounced. On September 8, 1979, she was found dead in her car in Paris. But many believe that her years of alcohol abuse and the emotional trauma inflicted by the FBI's harassment played a significant role in her tragic end at the age of 40. Carol Landis, the blonde bombshell's descent into darkness. A stunning beauty with a vivacious personality, she was dubbed the Ping Girl and the Chest of the Future for her voluptuous figure. Born Frances Lillian Mary Ridsty on January 1, 1919, in Fairchild, Wisconsin, she changed her name to Carol Landis to reinvent herself for Hollywood. She gained fame for her role in 1 Million BC, 1940, where her scantily clad appearance made her an instant sex symbol. Despite her on-screen allure, her personal life was marred by failed marriages and tumultuous love affairs, including a highly publicized relationship with actor Rex Harrison. The constant media attention and the pressure to maintain her image led her to seek escape in alcohol. Her drinking escalated over time, affecting her ability to land quality roles and further straining her personal relationships. By the late 1940s, her career had stalled, and she found herself relegated to B-movies. Her emotional state worsened, exacerbated by her heavy drinking and a series of personal setbacks, including her failing relationship with Harrison. On July 5, 1948, she was found dead in her home in Beverly Hills. While alcohol was not the direct cause, her years of alcohol abuse had contributed to her emotional instability, culminating in her tragic death at the age of 29. Dorothy Dandridge, the barrier-breaking beauty with a broken heart. A groundbreaking African-American actress and singer, she was the first black woman to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Carmen Jones, 1954. Born on November 9, 1922, in Cleveland, Ohio, she began her career as a child performer and later transitioned to film, breaking racial barriers in Hollywood. Her success, however, came at a high emotional cost. She faced systemic racism and was often typecast in stereotypical roles, limiting her career opportunities. Her personal life was equally challenging, marked by a troubled marriage to restaurateur Jack Dennison and the birth of a daughter with special needs. The weight of these struggles led her to seek comfort in alcohol, which soon turned into a dependency. By the early 1960s, her career had declined, and she was plagued by financial difficulties. Her drinking worsened, affecting her physical health and emotional well-being. On September 8, 1965, she was found dead in her West Hollywood apartment. The official cause of death was a drug overdose, but her chronic alcohol abuse had undoubtedly played a role in her deteriorating health and tragic demise at the age of 42. Thelma Todd, the ice cream blonde who melted too soon. Nicknamed the Ice Cream Blonde for her platinum locks and creamy complexion, she was a comedic actress who lit up the screens in the late 1920s and early 1930s. Born on July 29, 1906, in Lawrence, Massachusetts, she gained fame for her roles in Hal Roach comedies, often starring alongside comedy legends like Laurel and Hardy. Her life, however, was far from comedic. She faced immense pressure to maintain her image as a glamorous starlet, which led her to seek solace in alcohol. Her drinking became a coping mechanism for the stress and loneliness that came with fame, affecting her personal relationships and career choices. In December 1935, her life took a tragic turn. She was found dead in her car, parked inside the garage of her lover Roland West's ex-wife, Jewel Carmen. The official cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning. However, rumors swirled about possible foul play, fueled by her tumultuous love life and alleged ties to organized crime. While her death remains shrouded in mystery, her years of alcohol abuse had undoubtedly taken a toll on her emotional and physical health, making her more vulnerable to the tragic circumstances that led to her untimely death at the age of 29. Lupe Velez, the Mexican Spitfire's final flame. Known as the Mexican Spitfire, she was a force of nature both on and off the screen. Born Maria Guadalupe Villalobos Velez on July 18, 1908, in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, she moved to the United States to pursue a career in entertainment. She quickly gained fame for her roles in films like The Gaucho, 1927, and Wolf Song, 1929, often portraying fiery and passionate characters. Her personal life was equally tempestuous, marked by high-profile relationships and marriages, including a tumultuous union with actor Johnny Weissmuller. The constant media scrutiny and the pressure to maintain her vivacious public persona led her to alcohol as a coping mechanism. Her drinking escalated over the years, affecting her career and contributing to the breakdown of her relationships. By the early 1940s, her career had waned, and she found herself grappling with personal issues, including an unplanned pregnancy from a relationship with actor Harold Ramond. On December 13, 1944, she was found dead in her Beverly Hills home. Her chronic alcohol abuse had undoubtedly played a role in her emotional turmoil, leading to her tragic end at the age of 36. Frances Farmer, the rebel soul crushed by the system. A talented actress with a rebellious streak, she was known for her beauty and intelligence, but became infamous for her clashes with studio executives and law enforcement. Born on September 19, 1913, in Seattle, Washington, she gained early fame for her role in Come and Get It, 1936, which showcased her natural talent and screen presence. However, her outspoken nature and refusal to conform to Hollywood norms made her a target for negative press and studio backlash. Her career took a nosedive, and she found solace in alcohol, which soon turned into a full-blown addiction. Her drinking led to erratic behavior, arrests, and eventually involuntary commitment to psychiatric institutions where she underwent electroconvulsive therapy. By the 1950s, her career was virtually over, and she lived in obscurity, working various jobs to make ends meet. Her health deteriorated rapidly, exacerbated by years of alcohol abuse and the physical and emotional toll of her institutionalizations. On August 1, 1970, she died of esophageal cancer in Indianapolis, Indiana. While the official cause of death was cancer, her years of alcohol abuse had significantly contributed to her declining health and tragic end at the age of 56. Peg Entwistle, the Broadway starlet who jumped off the Hollywood sign. A promising actress with roots in Broadway, she became famous not for her roles in films or plays, but for her tragic end. Born Millicent Lillian Entwistle on February 5, 1908, in Port Talbot, Wales, she moved to New York City to pursue a career in acting. She found moderate success on Broadway, but decided to try her luck in Hollywood, hoping for a breakthrough. Her Hollywood dream, however, quickly turned into a nightmare. She struggled to find meaningful roles and faced constant rejection, which took a toll on her mental health. The stress and disappointment led her to alcohol, which she used to numb her emotional pain. In September 1932, her life came to a tragic end. She climbed the Hollywoodland sign, then an advertisement for a housing development, and jumped off the letter H. She was only 24 years old. Her death note read, "I am afraid, I am a coward, I am sorry for everything." While her death was attributed to her mental health struggles, her alcohol abuse was a significant factor that exacerbated her emotional instability. Her story remains one of the most haunting tales of Hollywood, a stark reminder of the dark side of fame and the devastating impact it can have on young lives. Virginia Rappe, the silent film actress whose death shook Hollywood. A rising star in the silent film era, she was poised for greatness but met an untimely and controversial end. Born on July 7, 1895 in Chicago, Illinois, she moved to San Francisco as a young woman to pursue a career in modeling and acting. Her beauty and talent caught the eye of filmmakers, and she appeared in a series of short films, gradually making her way to Hollywood. Her life took a dark turn in 1921 during a party hosted by famous comedian Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle. She fell seriously ill at the event and died a few days later on September 9, 1921. Her death led to one of the first major Hollywood scandals, with Arbuckle accused of causing her death through sexual assault. Although he was eventually acquitted, the incident cast a long shadow over both their careers. While the exact circumstances of her death remain a subject of debate, it's widely acknowledged that her health was compromised by chronic cystitis, exacerbated by alcohol abuse. She was known to consume alcohol to cope with the pain from her condition, but the substance likely worsened her health and contributed to her tragic demise at the age of 26. Her story serves as a grim example of how the pressures of Hollywood fame, coupled with personal vulnerabilities, can lead to tragic outcomes, forever altering the course of promising young lives. Wallace Reid, the matinee idol consumed by addiction. A heartthrob of the silent film era, he was the epitome of the all-American hero on screen. Born on April 15, 1891 in St. Louis, Missouri, he quickly rose to stardom with his good looks and natural acting ability, starring in It's Like the Birth of a Nation at 1915 and The Roaring Road in 1919. Off-screen, however, he faced a battle that he couldn't win. During the filming of The Valley of the Giants in 1919, he was injured in a train wreck and prescribed morphine for his pain. The The prescription turned into an addiction, one that he supplemented with alcohol as his tolerance for morphine grew. Despite his substance abuse, he continued to work at a frenetic pace, further damaging his already fragile health. His addiction became public knowledge, and the studio tried to help him by sending him to a sanitarium. However, the damage was done. His health deteriorated rapidly, and he was plagued by bouts of pneumonia and influenza, exacerbated by his weakened immune system due to years of substance abuse. On January 18, 1923, he died in a sanitarium in Pasadena, California, at the age of 31. The official cause of death was listed as influenza, but it was clear that his years of alcohol and morphine abuse had taken their toll, cutting short a promising career and life. John Gilbert, the silent film star, silenced by his demons. A leading man of the silent film era, he was often compared to greats like Rudolph Valentino for his romantic roles. Born John Cecil Pringle on July 10, 1897, in Logan, Utah, he gained fame for his collaborations with actress Greta Garbo in films like Flesh and the Devil, 1926, and Love, 1927. However, the advent of talkies proved to be his downfall. His voice didn't transition well to the new medium, and his career began to decline. This professional setback led him to seek solace in alcohol, which soon turned into a full-blown addiction. His drinking affected his ability to work, leading to fewer roles and a tarnished reputation. His personal life was equally tumultuous. He had a series of failed marriages and relationships, adding to his emotional turmoil. His health began to deteriorate due to his excessive drinking, leading to severe liver problems and other complications. On January 9, 1936, he died from a heart attack, exacerbated by his years of alcohol abuse. He was only 38 years old. His death marked the end of a career that had once been full of promise but was ultimately undone by the pressures of fame and his struggles with addiction. Bela Lugosi, the man behind Dracula's cape, best known for his iconic role as Count Dracula in the 1931 film Dracula, he was a Hungarian-American actor who became a legend in horror cinema. Born Bela Ferenc Dezo Blasco on October 20, 1882. In Lugos, Hungary, he immigrated to the United States in 1920 and quickly found work in Hollywood. His portrayal of Dracula made him an instant star, but it also typecast him in horror roles, limiting his career opportunities. As the years passed, the roles became less frequent and less prestigious. This decline in his career led him to seek comfort in morphine and methadone, substances he initially used to treat chronic sciatica. His addiction worsened over time, affecting both his professional and personal life. Multiple attempts at rehabilitation failed, and his health deteriorated rapidly. He was virtually forgotten by the industry that once celebrated him, and he spent his final years in near obscurity. On August 16, 1956, he passed away in his Los Angeles apartment from a heart attack, but his years of substance abuse had undoubtedly contributed to his poor health. He was 73 years old. His life serves as a cautionary tale of the pitfalls of typecasting and the devastating effects of addiction, even for those who once stood at the pinnacle of Hollywood fame. Lou Tellegen, the dashing actor whose flame burned out too soon. A Dutch actor and director, he was once considered one of the most handsome men in Hollywood. Born on November 26, 1881 in Sint-Edenrode, Netherlands, he moved to the United States and quickly became a sensation, starring in films like The Explorer, 1915, and The Victoria Cross, 1916. His good looks and charm couldn't protect him from the pitfalls of fame. The pressure to maintain his image and the competition for roles in a rapidly changing industry led him to seek comfort in alcohol. His drinking escalated into a serious problem, affecting both his career and personal life. His marriage to opera singer Geraldine Farrar ended in divorce, adding another layer of emotional distress. His career began to wane and roles became increasingly scarce. Financial difficulties followed, plunging him into a state of despair, a tragic end to a life that had once been filled with promise. He was 52 years old. His death shocked Hollywood and his fans, serving as a grim reminder of the destructive power of fame and addiction. Olive Thomas, the Ziegfeld Girl. A stunning beauty and one of the original Ziegfeld Foley's girls, she was on the cusp of major stardom. Born on October 20th, 1894 in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, she moved to New York City to pursue a career in modeling and acting. Her beauty quickly caught the eye of Florenz Ziegfeld, and she became one of his famed Ziegfeld girls. Her transition to films was seamless, and she starred in several silent films like The Flapper, 1920, and Everybody's Sweetheart, 1920. However, the pressures of her rapid rise to fame began to weigh on her. She married actor Jack Pickford, the younger brother of silent film star Mary Pickford, but the marriage was fraught with difficulties, including both of them engaging in excessive drinking. In a tragic turn of events, while on a second honeymoon in Paris, she ingested mercury bichloride, a toxic substance. The circumstances remain unclear, but it's widely believed to have been an accident, possibly fueled by her intoxicated state. She died on September 10, 1920, at the age of 25, just as her career was taking off. Her untimely death shocked Hollywood and her fans, and her story serves as a cautionary tale about the perils of fame and the destructive potential of substance abuse. As the spotlight dims on these tragic tales, you might be left wondering, what's the real cost of fame? These stories are not just footnotes in Hollywood history, they're cautionary tales that echo through time, reminding us that stardom has its dark side,